Today's lecture is going to be on the structural organization of skeletal muscle. When we're looking at connective tissue components, the first area or the most superficial area that we'll focus on is the deep fascia. This expansive sheath of dense, irregular connective tissue has a main job of separating individual muscles. It also binds together muscles of similar functions. It forms sheaths to help distribute nerves, blood vessels, and lymphatic vessels. Going from superficial and working into towards the deep component, the next area we'll look at is going to be the epimysium. The epimysium, again, is an outer layer of dense, irregular connective tissue, and it's connected to the deep fascia. Going one layer deeper is the perimysium. The perimysium helps divide the skeletal muscle into compartments, as you can see here. And these individual compartments are again composed of dense, irregular connective tissue. These compartments are called fascicles, and these fascicles contain a bundle of muscle fibers. They also contain blood vessels, arteries, veins, and nerves. Moving deeper into the skeletal muscle is the endomysium. This is where the connective tissue component changes. The endomysium, located here, is composed of areolar connective tissue that surrounds and insulates each individual muscle fiber. It can contain a capillary network that helps supply blood to the muscle fiber and nerve fibers that control the muscle collectively, and these are called neurovascular bundles. They also contain a component called a satellite cell, and these satellite cells are embryonic stem cells that function in repair of damaged muscle tissue. Looking at the individual components, again working from the most superficial to deep, the fascia tissue would be located on the outside here, so that would be the most superficial. We're working into the epimysium. Again, it houses many of the muscle fibers. It also, the connective tissue coverings, blood vessels, and nerve fibers. Then we have, going deeper into the skeletal muscle, we have the perimysium. It's composed of that dense, irregular connective tissue. And with the perimysium, these bundles are called, collectively are called fascicules. And then the most deep layer of skeletal muscle tissue is the endomysium, which is composed of the areolar connective tissue. It also has the myofibrils. It's composed of the satellite cell, which helps for repair. And then each individual muscle fiber, or where we find each individual muscle fiber or the muscle cell. So just going back, when we pull out from the endomysium an individual myofibril, so when we pull out an individual myofibril, the first thing that we see is the most functional unit of the contractile component of skeletal muscle, called a sarcomere. A sarcomere is going to run from Z-line to Z-line, and it is going to contain within those these organelles called myofilaments. Inside of the myofilaments are the contractile proteins. We have the thick filament, which is called myosin, and then we have the thin filament, which is called actin, and it also has a braided strand of tropomyosin and also troponin. So when we're looking at muscle attachments, at the end of the muscle attachment, we're going to see this white region right here. And this white region is a connective tissue, is all the connective tissues that we previously mentioned that form into a tendon. So the fascia, which lays on the most superficial, the epimysium, perimysium, and endomysium, will eventually all merge into the proximal and distal tendon. So a tendon is basically an aponeurosis or collagen fibers of the epimysium, perimysium, and endomysium that all come together. Its main job is to attach muscle to bone. When we're looking at origins and insertions, origins or the proximal attachment is usually referred to as, the origin is referred to as the less mobile attachment. And then when we're looking at the distal attachment, or what's also called the insertion, this is the more mobile attachment. For the most part, most skeletal muscles extend between bones and cross at least one mobile joint. So for this example, we have the bicep brachii. The origin is going to be the humeral head and portions of the scapula, and the insertion would be onto the ulna, and then the mobile joint that it is moving across would be the elbow.